You are on air.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Sean David Morton. Welcome to the Strange Universe Radio Blast. It's great to talk to everybody. I'm sorry I ran out of phone minutes last week and didn't get a chance to connect with you, JP, and say hello. But lots going on, and as you can see, we're right where I said said we would be, with possible war with the Iranians and things going on in the Straits of Hormuz, and lots and lots of things. All right, once again, let me just mention all the stuff that you need to know. Once again, Melissa she got out on May 15th. She still doesn't have a place to live. She's basically living out of her car. She's showering at the gym. She's sleeping on the couch of a couple of friends of mine, and going to try to get some benefits from the welfare office and Social Security and all that. So, if anybody appreciates these blasts I'm doing and wants to help her out, it's paypal.me/help Melissa. That's paypal.me/help Melissa. So, there you go. Anybody wants to make a contribution to help her out, I'd certainly appreciate it. In my case, the DOJ and the people at the BOP are behaving exactly as I expected them to. It's June 21st, and they were supposed to have an answer to my appeal. So they waited until the very last minute, which was yesterday, and filed an extension saying, we're the DOJ. We have unlimited power and resources, but we can't get an appeal done in 30 days. So they've extended it. So they have until July 22nd now, while I'm sitting in prison, because I was going to win the appeal virtually hands down. They have no explanation for it. So they're just going to play the extension game in order to keep me imprisoned for as long as they possibly can without having any answers. So just me, by myself, fighting this with some paralegals and some other people out there, have stumped these guys to the point where they need another 30 days to file their answer to my appeal. And, of course, we have 21 days after that. So this whole thing is extended through the summer. So that's me. Meanwhile, I'm actually filing a motion for compassionate release because I had 20/20 vision when I came into this place, and now I'm completely blind in my right eye. The good news is that there was the case of Morgan versus USA, who was another gentleman in here, Ron Morgan, who actually got compassionate release, and there was just a news article that a person who also had 20/20 vision, a man named Viraj something, was also blinded by the BOP, and he just got a settlement of $2.6 million for exactly the same thing they did to him that they're doing to me. So I'm putting in a motion for compassionate release here within the next couple of days to see if they will let me out of here. Also, the brand new guidelines of the First Step Act are reducing people's sentences like crazy. So under the new mathematics of the new act, I should have been released actually 3 months ago. So that's another thing that I'm putting into my motion. For everybody out there, by the way, July 19th is going to be the day that the Board of Prisons has now said they're going to finally start actually applying all of the sentence reductions of the absolutely revolutionary First Step Act and the amendments to the Second Chance, what's called the Second Chance Act, which means that there are probably, quite possibly, over 100,000 people that they're going to be letting go as of July 19th. And I'm not sure, there's varying numbers as far as how many people are actually in the federal system, but as I said, it should be at least over 100,000 people that they're going to let go. I mean, everybody in the camp I'm at is sick, is elderly, is nonviolent, non-sexual, and Trump wants these places closed. He's actually cut $2.4 trillion out of the federal budget for 2020 to close ridiculous places like this. He says, look, I mean, there's no reason everybody in here shouldn't be actually out, either under supervised release or home confinement, all making a living. And remember, the father of Jared Kushner, who's his son-in-law, actually his father-in-law, really, actually wrote the First Chance Act because he spent 4 years in a federal camp, exactly like I'm at here. Okay, lots of stuff to cover. I don't know if we have enough time to do it, but June 21st, this is kind of a big day. I've been talking about it for quite a while. This year, remember I talked about how there's 13 years that, as of December 21st of 2012, that we would go into the belly of the Jaguar. We'd be swallowed by the Jaguar, the Black Panther, literally, and we would be digested and go through all of the philosophical process or the the processes of now being boiled down to our key elements, if you will, for this last 13-year period in which we're adjusting to the right-hand side of the brain, which is the quantum type side of the brain, being completely open, and now are having access to our mental, spiritual, emotional powers, and are having access to quantum time. So we're halfway through the night now. June 21st, I talk about, is exactly halfway. It's 6.5 years through the 13-year cycle, which ends on December 21st of 2025. It is interesting because I believe on December 21st of this year, of 2019, we're actually going to be aligning with galactic center again. The last alignment happened in 2012, of course. The alignment before that happened twice in 1998 and 1999. So we're doing another alignment. So there should be some kind of major global thing that might happen, shaking the entire world or something to occur by this Christmas. But we're halfway through the night, and now we're moving up and out and into the light. Let me just talk about some stock market stuff, because for quite some time, from my Strange Universe radio show to now, I kept saying that even though so many people have been saying that the market was going to crash and all kinds of terrible things are going to happen, and I said nothing's going to happen until the market hits 28,000. Well, it came to another high just the other day. I think it almost hit 27. It was like 26,900 and something. So wait for that to happen. And also, if you're looking at the price of gold and silver, if you're talking about a quantitative easing, if you're talking about a new quantum financial program, if you're talking about Trump basically cutting the legs out from the Federal Reserve and possibly basing the currency on gold and or silver, gold also is reaching a record high. It's almost at it was at 1383 the other day. It's almost up to 1400 or so. But we're looking at gold going to, quite possibly by the end of this year, gold going to 2,000 again, as I predicted some time ago, with silver up in the $45 to $60 range. Now, I'm saying this is good for some people, but market participants are betting on kind of a huge seismic shock to the financial system, and global trade has now collapsed in a manner identical to what happened at the time of the Lehman shock, which was September 11th of 2008. And by the way, we encountered a systematic attempt to censor certain graphs on the internet from the English language when you go to the Chinese site to locate these things. But there are graphs that indicate that something huge is coming, and there's one showing how long-term interest rates in the euro-dollar markets are even further below short-term rates than they were immediately before the Lehman stock crash. And this happens because traders feel something huge is about to happen, and they try to lock in long-term stable money before it's too late. But I'm telling you that again, look for the Dow Jones at 28,000. Look for gold to go to 2,000. Or in the 2,000 range. So we're talking between 1,800 and maybe even as high as 2,100, and silver up in that particular range before there's going to be a big collapse. I also think in 2 months, in 60 days, you're going to see a successful Canada-USA-Mexico agreement, the new NAFTA, if you will. They call it something else. And I also believe in 2 months we're going to see a fantastic trade with China, some kind of trade deal with China that's going to level the playing field quite a bit. And that is going to be one of the things that's going to trigger the 28,000 stock market possibly before October. Kind of important because you had 30-year Boeing veteran Patrick Shanahan, that I've been talking about as acting defense secretary in the United States. He pulls out all of a sudden because of some weird thing where, I don't know, his son hit his wife in the head with a baseball bat or something like that. But you have all these genuine military veterans left in the Trump administration. We're all leaving, and then suddenly you have the head of the Army actually come in as the new Secretary of Defense. Now, it is interesting because the United States Army was formed in 1775, and they're the only army in the world that doesn't take an oath to a king or a dictator. They take an oath to the Constitution, and they take an oath to protect and defend the people of the United States. So I think it's very interesting that now we have an Army guy who's now head. Now, it was a shame because I was hoping that Patrick Shanahan was going to bring in anti-gravity, was going to bring in cold fusion propulsion, was going to bring, he pioneered the GRASP engine at Boeing, which was the gravity aerospace engine. So it looks like we're going to turn away from all this new super technology that would compete with oil, which is unfortunate, with Shanahan finally suddenly leaving. And Shanahan was the one that knew all about anti-gravity and knew all about the UFOs and whatever else. And now we've got an Army guy in there. Now, as far as what's going on in Iran and the Straits of Hormuz, if you look at what happened in the Gulf of Oman, those two tankers that blew up, I'm convinced that these are false flags. That I think the Iranians knew this. I think that President Trump, who is fantastically suspicious of the CIA, even more so than Kennedy was. These were false flags operations that were carried out with torpedoes, not mines, and were very much under the bailiwick of maybe even the UK, the Israelis, or maybe even the CIA. So understanding this and knowing that they're trying to sucker him into a war with the Iranians, and it's interesting that he pulled back today. There's a couple of reasons for this. When he pulled back, first off, nobody told him when they were planning these attacks or retaliation what the death toll was going to be. And it wasn't until about 30 minutes before he then said, 10 minutes before it said, no, call off the attack, when they told him that they would be killing about 150 people, which of course would then enrage the Iranians and that they would have to then attack. And he just thought that it was too dangerous. Remember, Iran stretches almost 1,700 miles along the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, but at the same time, you had a Russian aircraft carrier and destroyer, an entire Russian aircraft carrier group, if you will, came through the Panama Canal, sailing into the Caribbean, and it's the Russian, I think it's like the Admiral Goshenkin or something. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce the name, but this is what they call a country killer aircraft carrier. This particular ship and its carrier group carries enough nuclear missiles to basically every city in the United States. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Also, the noose is tightening around Hillary Rodham Clinton, and you're noticing that people around her are starting to die. You had 5 state senators die. Her own brother, Tony Rodham, there's a possibility she had him killed. And also on June 11th, you had on June 11th, you had, I think 1,700, almost 1,700 pedophiles were all rounded up and arrested. So the noose is tightening around them as well. Anyway, God bless everybody out there. Please pray for me, my compassionate release motion, also for my appeal, and please, once again, paypal.me/help Melissa. She's the one that really needs help fixing the car and everything else. And I want to say God bless you, JP, for giving me this time and for taking the time and putting it all together. JP deserves all the credit. All right, it's a strange universe, and we just work here. We'll see you next week.
Good night, Sean.
Thanks, buddy.